Johnny Hansen, Scotty Wednesday for the Cougar Preview Show, brought to you by Beehive Meals. We're joined now by Shehan Jeyarajah, CBS Sports national college football writer and analyst. Shehan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's Utah BYU week, and we can't get into the game without analyzing what they just did. They both won. What'd you think about the way they won, and does it tell you anything about the rivalry game or throw the records out the window and all that stuff?
Well, I think throw the records out for sure. I think BYU looked like a team that was looking ahead just a little bit, whereas I think Utah, they know that they don't have any margin for error after that early season loss. But I think that coming out of week 6, both these teams are obviously rolling 5-1, 6-0. I think that this is potentially a Big 12 title game play-in game. Now, of course, Texas Tech is almost certainly going to be the other team in that game. They've already beaten Utah. They get BYU later this year as well. But I think that with the way that things line up, with the level that these two teams have played at relative to the rest of the conference, with certainly Sam Leavitt's injury at Arizona State, I think that these two teams have a really good case to be number 2 and 3 in the Big 12 in whatever order you want to put them. So this is a huge game. You can almost call this an early playoff game, I think, in Provo, and I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, so are we, obviously. I think you can throw in Cincinnati as the three teams fighting for one berth. I'm not sure that I see anybody else besides those three teams with the opportunity to join Texas Tech in the Big 12 title game.
Yeah, I think that those are definitely the favorites to this point. This is the thing about the Big 12, right, is that every loss is so costly. And with Arizona State, I was very excited by them through the first couple of weeks, but this is how fast things can change, right? Your quarterback goes out, and I think that not having a tiebreaker against Utah is going to be a really difficult situation. And by the way, Arizona State now hosts Texas Tech. We'll see how they hang, but it's going to be really tough for them to get back in. TCU, this is a team that I had a lot of optimism about, but ultimately, they just haven't taken care of business. They lose to Kansas State last week. There are a lot of teams that are kind of right on that cusp. Iowa State, of course, being another after some of their struggles lately. But, I think that the teams that take care of business when they're supposed to are the ones that are going to have the best chance.
In the Utah-BYU game, we got two teams that are running the ball really well, but they don't throw it that well. Do you trust either one a little more to make big plays through the air, or are you thinking more special teams decides this? Or one team runs the ball and the other doesn't, just dominates the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, I think that I do give a clear edge to the way that Utah is running the ball right now. Now, I think that, when it comes to sort of pure running back run stuff, I think that BYU acquits itself really well. But I think that the quarterback run game and the offensive line as well, I think just gives Utah a little bit of that edge. But the thing that I'll kind of respond to that with is that I think that BYU's receivers are way better than what Utah is throwing out there right now. And by the way, while Bear Bachmeier is hasn't been asked to do a lot as a passer, I think he's handled those moments really, really well to this point. Obviously it helps when you have some of the playmakers that you have, but I do think that this stuff is real. And so I think that BYU is going to be able to put together a more diversified game plan than Utah. I think that Utah, while, again, I think it's going to be very effective, I think that it'll also almost by necessity become pretty, predictable, I guess you could say. And, again, so a lot of it's going to come down to, how does BYU deal with this Utah run game? Can they prevent explosive plays? Can they keep them under wraps for the most part? I'll tell you what, it's a huge deal that Isaiah Glasker wasn't ultimately ejected for targeting and have to miss the first half of this game, because I think he might be the most important player in the game for BYU. But I do think that offensively, BYU is just a little bit more diverse. And, here's the reality as well, is that they're 6-0, and they really haven't had to open up the playbook to this point, except for maybe a little bit in that fourth quarter when they come back from a 10-point deficit.
How about this? You got BYU, ranked 15th, I think it is. They're at home. They're 17-2 in their last 19, and they're the underdog. How about just playing the disrespect card? Because I don't think it gets any worse than this.
I love it. No, and look, I think that you can make a pretty good case that over the last 2 years, BYU has been the single most disrespected program in college football.
Right.
I mean, they go on the road and win a game over a playoff team in week 2 last year, and it's like it never even happened.
Amen. Preach.
They obviously go 11-2. I don't think they're talked about as a team like this. And look, I think it was fair to certainly ask questions about their Big 12 chances in 2025 after losing a quarterback. But they've showed to this point, kind of what I hoped, right? That this is a team that will get enough from the quarterback position, and they're really, really good everywhere else. So, I think that this is a team that absolutely deserves more credit than they've got. I think here's the thing, we always talk about the idea of obviously like the brand names getting a little bit of that credit, like the Alabamas and all that. I think that, in their own way, Utah has been that in this world, right? Where they, not unfairly, but have gotten kind of the benefit of the doubt. But you start to see, even as BYU has the success, it doesn't feel like that benefit of the doubt has come to the same extent. Now, that what you kind of throw on top of that is, if you win this game, I think that it changes the conversation around BYU this year. I think that all of a sudden you start getting into legitimate top 10 conversations. You start getting into legitimate college football playoff conversations. We're actually doing our second chance expert picks over at cbssports.com right now. They come out this week, and I wish that we could wait one more week so I could see the results of this game. But right now, I have BYU as number 11 in my college football playoff projection. So I think that this is a huge opportunity for this team to kind of rewrite their narrative because, like we've talked about extensively over the years, this is a team that won 11 games last year, that's 6-0 right now, and it does not feel like they're talked about like that.
See, that's awesome. You got to have that writers' roundtable thing. Everybody there at CBS Sports, who's the most disrespected team in America? People love that stuff. And then you can make your BYU pitch, and they'll pitch whoever they pitch.
Well, listen, if they win this game, I think it'll be much, much easier for me to get to pull some of that again next week.
When you step back a little bit and go big picture, I'm embarrassed for the sport that not necessarily that James Franklin gets fired, but that they would fire him knowing that somebody has to pay $49 million. The emphasis on winning is just out of control as far as that goes. And get $49 million, what that can mean for some people who could use that money, obviously, and we're going to pay it to a disposed college football coach because he lost a couple games. I don't know that you're really going to fire him because he lost to Oregon in overtime, but then you throw on the other two, I guess. Obviously, they're bad losses, but somebody thought it was a good idea to go ahead and do that, and they probably already have the donors willing to pay that money. Winning is out of control in this sport.
Well, it's so interesting, right? Because, look, it's been a terrible year. Like, it 100% has. They're the first team in 30 years to lose consecutive games as 20-point favorites. They're the first preseason number 2 since 1965 to start 3-3. Like, there's no underselling just how bad this is, right? But it's one of those situations, right, where, one, James Franklin has won a lot of games over a lot of years. And there's a lot of coaches in college football who have not won at the level that he has. 2, you're going to have to go out and get somebody, and this is ultimately going to be probably when it's all said and done, like a $75 million expense when it comes to paying new staff, paying staff buyouts, paying James Franklin's buyout, all of that, right? So are you going to get $75 million better of coach? I just don't know the answer to that question, right? I just don't know that there's an obvious answer that's a clear upgrade. Now, I think, the early conversation has centered on Matt Rule from Nebraska, a coach who, I know a little bit from his time at Baylor, and I think he's a fantastic coach, Penn State alum. I think he'd do a good job there. Is he clearly doing something different, though, than what James Franklin did? And is he doing $75 million worth more than what James Franklin did? I don't really think so. Again, I'm a big fan of Matt Rule. I don't know that that's the case. And the other piece of this, too, that's been interesting is we've seen other than Jimbo, nothing like this, obviously, But we've seen teams quickly fire coaches when moments go bad, pay big buyouts, have a lot of dead money. But it's almost historically always been in the SEC, where people are more reactionary, where there's more fervency, where there's more urgency. We haven't really seen this almost ever in the Big Ten. Even if you want to talk about just the non-SEC, like Notre Dame paid a big buyout to get Charlie Weiss out of there. I think that it's fair to say that was pretty deserved at the time. But like this hasn't happened in the Big Ten or in the North, wherever you want to talk about it. So it's definitely a bizarre situation from that perspective to me. Of it feels like, obviously the Big Ten has won the last two national championships. It feels like that's adding a new level of pressure to other contenders in that conference, because if Oregon can pop up, obviously Ohio State and Michigan, Indiana right now is a top 3 team. Like I think that the pressure is starting to rise quicker than ever. And by the way, Penn State invested a tremendous amount of money in this 2025 roster, and the dividends are not paying out. All of these things are going to add up to, I think, change the dynamics at some of these programs to something very different than it's been historically.
Okay, then just spare me whatever pregame piece on whatever website or on whatever TV show about we're here teaching these kids about life and you got to work hard and invest in over time. Because over here, a guy's 13-3 and in the national semis with 2 playoff wins, and he starts 3-0, and 3 weeks later he's fired. This isn't about 5-year rebuilding plans. It's not even about 3 years. It's not about 2, which has turned into a year and a half at Oregon State and at UCLA on down the line. This is now like, no matter how good you are, if you lose 3 in a row, if you have injuries, if the energy goes bad, you lose a big game and the guys got to fly cross country and don't bounce back. Energy went bad to the Eagles and they lost to the Giants. Like sometimes you don't have it. In football, you need the spirit. Now, sorry, you guys were down this week. You're gone. Here's your $49 million. Get out the door. It just sounds like the world's upside down to me. And what are we doing?
No, and I think that there's a really good comparison here, right, which is the coaches in the state of Utah, BYU, Kalani Sitake, they go 5-7 in their first season, and people, freak out a little bit. And, for Utah, right, they have these 2 straight years of being extremely lackluster, including going 5-7 last year. But the focus was always, okay, well, let's figure out if we can get more out of this guy. Let's figure out if we invest in certain ways, if we give him some help, if we give him some time, if they can figure it out. It took one dang year for Kalani Sitake to turn 5-7 to 11-2, right? Like, I think that sometimes, and I want to be clear at Penn State too, right? Like, I understand that this was kind of a culmination roster for this team. It was, retaining a bunch of guys who were not promised come back. There's a really decent chance that Penn State, if they had kept James Franklin, wouldn't have as talented a roster as they do in 2025 for a very long time. But, I mean, again, it's like, do you deal with some of those growing pains that you're going to have to go through, by the way, with a new coach regardless, to try to let him build back? Or do you just kind of say, we're done here? And, it's funny. I have a friend who lives in State College, not a sports fan at all. And he actually works at a church. And he texted me, he's like, why is this old lady cursing James Franklin's name in the church? Who is James Franklin? And I'm like, well, I got a story to tell you. So I understand. Like, the vibes have gotten very bad there. But I think that lack of patience ultimately is going to hurt much more long-term for some of these programs than it's going to help.
Has Indiana erased all doubts?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this team is here. This team is for real. It's real and it's beautiful. And I think that you look at last year, I mean, defensively, they hung with the best last year. Like, they gave themselves a chance. It's been the offense that hasn't been ready for prime time. And I point to one particular drive that to me felt like this is a championship drive. After Fernando Mendoza, a really good quarterback, throws a pick six to Oregon to tie the game, they go 12 plays, 75 yards, more than 6 minutes for a touchdown to burn more than half of the remaining time in the fourth quarter, to physically bully an Oregon team who obviously is really, really good and exceptional in the trenches and put that game away. Like, that's what championship teams do. We thought Georgia do it, by the way, against Auburn. Indiana was able to do the same thing against an Oregon team that was ranked in the top 3. That's impressive stuff. That's the sort of thing that we haven't seen. I thought the addition of Roman Hemby at running back was a very underrated dynamic, and look, he's not gonna get you 7 yards per carry, but he's gonna get you 3.5 really tough physical yards. And I think that's what this team needed almost above anything else. So this Indiana team is for real. This team, I think, along with Ohio State, are easily the top contenders in the Big Ten. I think they're very much capable of contending for a national championship. And again, it's always hard to go on your first run, right? So hopefully they've had an opportunity to learn from that 2024 team and accomplish even more in 2025.
John, we appreciate it as always. Great talking college football with you. Enjoy the games this week, and we will talk to you again next week.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shehan Jeyarajah joining us, CBS Sports national college football writer and analyst. Bronco Mendenhall, Aggie football coach, is going to join us next. Back from and a bad second half. We'll talk with him right after the break right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's game week for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. After a trip to Hawaii, Bronco Mendenhall has a short week to get ready for a Friday night showdown in Logan against San Jose State. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Aggie football and your chance to win tickets to the game. Then catch all the play-by-play action beginning with the Aggie pregame show this Friday at 6 on 1280 The Zone. Your exclusive home for Aggie football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join the KSL Sports Zone for a rivalry pregame bash live from UCCU. Enjoy food from Beehive Meals, games, prizes, cash, and tickets to the rivalry game. Don't miss it Saturday from 4 to 6 at the UCCU's Freedom Boulevard branch in Provo. UCCU, love where you bank. Just head on Shehan Jeyarajah and PK. The rivalry game is upon us. He's got a little more faith in BYU's ability to make one or two big plays through the air.
Oh, I think he was saying that they were more diversified. I don't know that he's got faith that they're going to be more.
The receivers are better.
Yeah, but that doesn't. But so what? If Utah runs the ball like crazy, just because you're more diversified, if I do well over here, I don't need to be diversified. The run game will trump. Yeah, I don't.
And
think he
special teams sits out there.
I don't think he was picking a favorite, unless I misunderstood what he was getting at. I mean, I get it. BYU is more diversified, and Utah's one-dimensional.
DJ PK, we're joined now by Bronco Mendenhall, Utah State football coach, just back from Hawaii. Bronco, good morning.
Oh, good morning. Good morning.
Bronco, that was about 35 minutes of really good football, but the end of it got away. What changed in your estimation? Last 20 points to Hawaii and 17-0 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the 17-0 in the fourth. It's interesting you picked up on that. I just barely walked out of a team meeting, and that was my message. We believed it would be a one-score game going over there and playing, and that's exactly where it was going into the fourth quarter, and really just didn't sustain. We weren't as consistent. We weren't as precise. We weren't as clean, and turned the ball over twice in the fourth quarter, and therein lies the margin. And so you turn it over twice. They don't turn it over at all, and field position, a couple short field scores, and there it was. And so disappointed that we didn't play well in the fourth quarter. I saw a lot to be encouraged by within our team, but it wasn't a complete game, and that was the difference.
We hear a lot of coaches say the most important stat beyond the final score, obviously, is the turnover margin, and whoever wins that. Do you fall in that category?
You know, I think I do at this time in this league with this team. there's lots of parity in this league, and on any given Saturday, on any given matchup, I'm not sure who the favorite really is, regardless of what the line is. But ultimately, having the ball, so Hawaii had the ball approximately 20 more plays than we did with the same yards per play. We had 9 penalties offensively alone, with procedures or holding, et cetera, which is really the equivalent of, giving up sacks or TFLs to yourself before the play even starts. And so the turnovers certainly contributed, but the 20 less plays self-inflicted by pre-snap penalties or holding during the play, I think really kept us inconsistent until the very end.
To underline what you said about the parity in the league, UNLV is 6-0 and 2-0, and Air Force is 1-5 and 0-4, and that game was 51-48 with 42 points in the fourth quarter, lead changes, and Air Force missed the time field goal. I don't know how you kill time the day of the game, but I stumbled across the end of that game, and that was wildly entertaining. But, man, those coaches, they're stressed.
Yeah. It's so stressful. It's where you can hardly breathe in games like this, and the lingering effect of a game like that for both teams, let alone us coming back from Hawaii and playing Friday night. It's very difficult to describe. We choose it, so I'm not looking for sympathy, but it's an unreal thing. And Air Force, if you look at the amount of points they're scoring, unfortunately, they're struggling, kind of closing out games, and that I'm not sure what team in the league wants to play them, even though they're 1-5, because it's tough, and I would say that's the same for every team in the league.
You're undefeated at home and you're winless on the road. Now, 2 of those are money games, and then you got the trip to Hawaii. Is it more circumstantial than anything else?
Gosh, it's too early to say. Texas A&M, I think, is a good team. Vanderbilt, I think, is a good team, and that's a long trip. And then Hawaii, and you guys probably didn't hear, but we had mechanical, so we ended up getting there on Friday afternoon to play. And so those are long trips. Ultimately, right, your team has to mature. You have to execute, and you have to be consistent regardless of where you go. And sometimes the challenges of getting there is part of it. But that seasons your team, and it exposes things that you need to work on. And I think that's what's happened with us.
Well, the good news is you're coming all the way back from Hawaii, and natural. We've all made. Every team has some experience with long travel, so you got to recover from that. And the league gave you a short week this week. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I offended, but somebody, which is just kind of how it works. But yeah, Friday night, coming back from Hawaii, which we've already framed it to our team, and right, no one is coming to save us, and nobody cares. You just step up and play, and that's what we'll do.
When you were out of coaching, you did this podcast. I forget what it was called, but I listened to
Head Coach University.
Yeah, there you go. And I listened to several of your episodes that you did, and one of them was when you interviewed. Basically, you had a conversation more than an interview, but it was more of a conversation with Ken Niumatalolo, who just happens to be the San Jose State head coach. And at that time, you probably had no idea that fast forward a year or two later, and you guys would be squaring off against each other at your respective teams that you coach in universities. Is it, in a sense, I don't know if the word is weird, but what are the emotions going up against a person that obviously you have a lot in common with?
Really haven't even considered it, and I bet he hasn't either. Kenny's son, Ali'i, is on my staff also.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's a family connection. There's also a faith connection. There's an experience connection. And there's a stopping or starting and being a long-time head coach and then kind of a pause. Kenny stayed as an analyst and was working with his son at UCLA while I was in Montana working horses. And now here we are back again. But I think college football is better because Kenny's a head coach. I think the principles, the values, and what he teaches besides the quality of football. And what's fun is their offense is nothing like the the option.
Yeah.
It's a complete departure, which is cool also, just to see someone taking a different approach in a different place and doing it a different way. But I'm sure the character focus and all the same things that he and I have in common on developing young people is still the same.
Oddly, they've played back-to-back 35-28 games, identical scores, 1-1 and lost one. Lost at Wyoming and beat New Mexico at home. And before that, they played 30-29 and 31-28 games. Feels like it's going to take 30 points to win this game, Coach. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
I think that's pretty much in our league. If you're not 30 or mid-30s plus, that's not going to do it. And so and I think those margins of victory are going to be pretty much league-wide on any given Saturday, where it's one-score games, much like the NFL, right, the parity that exists. So, I would expect it to be in that range, and I'd expect it to be close.
The firing of James Franklin, who's obviously won a lot of ball games and is going to be due almost $50 million, to me, to a good degree, it signals that winning and the pressure that lies within that is out of control. What is your thought?
It's the same. When you look at the college landscape and the structural realignments, right, there is only one motive for the realignments from West Coast teams to be part of the Big Ten or elsewhere, and that's simply the finances. So to be clear, I think it's professional sport. I think it's financially driven. I think that's first and foremost on the administrators, the organizers, and any leadership's role. And the coaches, because of that, with the financial investment and the expectation for return, that really kind of dehumanizes the personnel component and makes it bottom line specific. And again, the coaches aren't asking for any sympathy because the dollar amounts being paid, as you just said, are just astronomical. And so with that comes this life that they and we are choosing. That, man, if you're not intentional about somehow trying to do more with your team and these young people than that, you can get sucked into only just the bottom line. And I don't think that's an enriching experience for anybody.
Agreed.
Not only is it not enriching, I just don't think big picture it works. Will there be an exception where it works? Absolutely, right? If 10 schools do this, somebody will hit and it'll pay off. And everybody says, see? And then I'll look over and think, well, yeah, there's 8 or 9 times over here where it didn't work. This seems to me to be a low percentage gamble. And people do go to Vegas and win big, but they only tear down hotels to build bigger hotels in Vegas. So I don't get the logic. It's emotion. It's not logic.
Yeah, and the electric bill alone is financed through people that are willing to gamble on one thing. And for maybe the one place that does it as leaders, again, it just depends on motive, right? If you're intentionally trying to build amazing young people through this game, you become certainly much, much more of an outlier than not. And so James Franklin is a very good football coach. His record says that. They've hit a tough spell, but that's probably where the expectation was to win a national championship, where it wasn't enough, and then willing to pay out or buy out that amount. It might be the most startling statement of anything we're talking about. And it's where do you go from there? You know, with that now as the set point, where do you go in the college landscape? So. I'm lucky to be in Logan. I'm lucky to be with these kids, to have it framed, but also to be clear, winning's really important everywhere. And whether you go to Hawaii and come back, and a loss is a loss, and it feels like that regardless of the dollar amount. But the kids still need to be treated great. They need to be taught lessons. And I think what the lessons that particular institution and maybe nationwide it's sharing is, there's only one lesson, and that's win, and that's unfortunate.
Right. So is that had not necessarily alter your message, but does it factor in? Because you can be the greatest developer of young men that you want, and you're pretty good at it. Obviously, you've been doing this for a long time, and have spoken to many of your former players, obviously, over the years, and they all speak highly of you. But at the same time, if you don't win, you're a bum and you're out the door.
Oh, yeah. And the way that I frame it to our team and kind of in our mission statement, guiding principles, it's the development of young men through championship football. So you have to say both and you have to do both. Otherwise, you don't get to keep doing it, period.
Yeah.
And And that is just the cost of doing business. And so those that really want to add more to the football experience, go for it. It's more time, energy, and effort. It's what fulfills me. But I have to be clear, I love to win. And I like winning championships, and I like winning a lot of games. And so it's not in place of, it's in addition to. And that's a bigger job, but it really isn't valued. It's more when the winning happens at the level that's expected and endorsed at a given institution, man, then they're thrilled with the other things you're doing. But if all you're doing is the other things and you're not winning, nobody cares, and you won't be able to stay.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember Robbie Bosco saying that when he was coaching, so that was at least a quarter of a century ago. That part hasn't changed. It's the $49 million buyout that's blowing us away, and I just wonder, the president and the AD who signed off on that, okay, so you're wrong. Are they gone? Or maybe they changed so fast that those people are no longer around to be held responsible. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a transient nature, and if you look at the number of athletic directors retiring or being fired or moving on or getting out, I mean, when you have that kind of buyout, again, the precedent that sets, not only for that institution but others, to say that it's that much for winning and winning alone, and it's a startling statement for sure. And I'm glad y'all are talking about it because it's worth contemplating.
Yep.
Bronco, we appreciate the time as always. We'll be watching Friday night. Good luck against the Spartans.
All right, thanks a lot. See y'all.
There's Bronco Mendenhall, Utah State football coach, in a hurry to move on because that game's coming quickly. You lose a little time on the flight back from Hawaii, and then you lose a little time because the game's the day earlier. Compressed week. Well, although San Jose has to travel. They're at home, right?
Yes, but you look at Utah State's schedule, to Vanderbilt, to Hawaii.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
Let's go on opposite sides of the planet, practically.
That's not helpful.
Yeah.
That is not. Travel wears people out in every sport, and people who don't play sports, there's a cumulative impact.
And they had mechanical issues, which means delays, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's normal on anybody's body clock to go to Hawaii and get there on Friday and then come home Saturday night.
No.
Who does that?
Coaches who recruit high school football players, maybe. And even they might be staying 48 or 72 hours.
Oh, yeah.
There was a story about Ray Giacoletti flying to Australia to get Bogut and flying back.
A one-time deal.
Right, one-time deal. But it's business. When you go for a specific purpose, meeting, whatever, right. I mean, it's just to go over there and play a game and think you're going to be at peak. And you can never – and the Aggies actually had good results in Hawaii. It's not like everybody who takes a long trip struggles. They'd had – now Hawaii had been down also, and I think Hawaii's a little better right now. But were you shocked that in the fourth quarter at 1 a.m. on a body clock they started playing poorly?
I was Sunday when I found out.
Right, exactly.
No, actually, I didn't go to bed till around 2.
Oh, really? You stayed up?
Circumstances.
Yeah, I know.
With the late game.
Right.
Here in town.
Yeah.
So I was there. I was available to check it out.
Check it out, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, DJ and PK, it is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We owe a break here to Jake Hatch, and when we come back, the NFL locks of the week. How we doing? It's not over yet. Monday night doubleheader coming up. Stay with us.
It's game week for the Utes, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. Rivalry week is here, and Kyle Whittingham and the Utes head south for a battle against BYU in Provo. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Utah football. Then catch college football Saturday, game day at 10 a.m. with a special Holy War pregame show starting at 4. And when the clock hits 0, hear the postgame show immediately following the game. Holy War coverage on the Zone is presented by UCCU. Love where you bang.
Let's go then. Let's go, baby.
Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer's strong play of the weekend.
Swung on, blasted, right field. This is gonna go. It is gone. Cal Raleigh, Canada, a solo home run, and this game is tied.
There is the Chevy Strong play of the game. Know it today after 3 o'clock. Alex and JJ will call for it, and you can win fabulous prizes.
Absolutely disrespectful. Canada.
Oh, Canada.
No.
No?
9 home runs in 14 games in Toronto.
Yeah, regardless. Well, it's one game in a 4-game series. It's not as impactful as in a 3 or 5, so we'll see. See what happens. But, yeah, they were able to get one. How come in baseball you don't steal one on the road? In the NBA?
In the NBA, that's the only verb that's allowed.
It's a good point.
I've tried to use other verbs, and the verb police will pull you over and write you a ticket. It has to be steal.
Right. But
Stole game one. I guess because the notion that the home court is much more powerful in basketball, where in baseball we don't think it's powerful. For a long time we thought, well, who's your starting pitcher? And now it's how deep is your bullpen or how timely is your hitting?
How deep is your bullpen? How deep is your bullpen?
Sing it.
I really need to know.
And now stop it.
Yeah, the Mariners, man. It sucked you in on Friday night. God, I want to go to bed here.
I know, but I couldn't. They're in the 12th inning. It's going to end soon. They're in the 13th. It's going to end soon.
So Mrs. Hatch doesn't watch a lot of baseball these days, but I was like, okay, I'm ready to go to bed. She's like, you got to finish this thing out. And so
demanding that you
going, and they keep loading the bases or 2 walks. They still couldn't do it.
Detroit just turns a double play on demand.
You know, the thing that I don't understand is how in the fetch do you take Schoolboy out 99 pitches? If he throws 120, is he going to die? Is his career going to be ruined?
Well, and that's the point a lot of people made after the game is like,
no sense.
For you guys lose that game. Oh, his season's over. Darn. Well, that extra 20 pitches, man.
He couldn't have gone. Now, maybe they score 3 runs off of him in the next inning, but he was absolutely, obviously so dominant. 14 Ks, and this is what he had. And 99 pitches. Freaking Bob Gibson has rolled over about 20 times. I'll get to your football.
The locks of the week. Yak, you remain undefeated. Unbeaten. Perfect.
Thank you, Colts.
You really weren't sweating that one, were you?
It was tricky there for a minute. When they announced that Kyler Murray was not going to play in this game, I'm like, oh, we got this thing in the bag. But Jacoby Brissett, he stepped up.
And yet, in the end, the Colts win anyway.
Yeah. Jonathan Taylor had a really good game. You just hear about the whole with the orbital for Anthony Richardson pregame?
Yeah, he got hit in the eye.
They had a band that smacked him in the eye and fractured his orbital bone.
He's not a good player anyway.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's unfortunate. That sucks for him.
They had a guy pregame get a concussion as well for the Colts.
Yeah, that's why I don't do pregame.
Well, the Colts rallied the fourth quarter and saved your day. So there you go. You're a perfect 6-0 now. I got off the schneid after a tie and a loss. About time one of those locks came through. Thank you, Rams. Nice third quarter right there. 2 touchdowns, quick succession in the third quarter. They won 17-3. And your game is tonight.
I could have sworn I picked the Steelers, but I guess I didn't. No, I'm not doubting you.
And I quote, Washington.
No, I'm not doubting you. But I'm the one who made the mistake. I thought, oh, the Steelers, yeah, I got that one. I don't want
you talked about Pittsburgh, but then you flipped
late
and said, I'm going to go with Washington over the Bears.
Okay. I still like that one, but I thought I had Pittsburgh. But I'll use Pittsburgh for another time.
6:15 ABC tonight. We can all see if PK's Commanders come through. There you go. They're yours. You own them. You own them for about 3 hours.
My father's cousin used to be the general manager, and when I was younger in my teens, I did know him.
Charlie Casserly.
And I did call one time, ask for tickets. Well, I was up here in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
I called, looked it up. Washington Redskins at the time put me right through. I say, "Can I speak to Charlie Casserly, please? Who is this?" I told him. He picked up.
Patrick?
It was so simple. I thought it would be a little bit of a rigmarole to go through, but it wasn't.
Nice.
And I said, "Hey, my parents would like to go to the game. Can you set them up?" "Yeah, sure, no problem."
So is he your uncle, or he's like your second cousin or something?
He was my mother's maiden name. My grandmother's maiden name is Casserly, right?
Okay.
So his father and my grandmother were first cousins. But his father retired to Sun City. And when we moved out to Phoenix, he was the only relative. So I spent a lot of time. In fact, my freshman basketball, I played psycho dude who had just graduated from ASU and got cut from the NFL. I swear he was on roids or something. He was so amped. He chucked the ball at me. He cut a kid's hair in the locker room before a game.
What?
Yeah.
Weird.
He was so intense, right? And so I was on the team, and he didn't like my attitude. And I was.
Is that the guy who chased you, threw the ball at you and chased you?
Yeah,
that story?
Yeah, and we went out to the high school track where Pablo played soccer, and we were supposed to run 4.40s.
That's a funny story, though.
And we take off, and I'm thinking, man, what are these guys doing? We got to run a mile. And they're sprinting, and I'm just, I gotta pace myself. I'll get this. I didn't understand that it was
4:40, take a break.
Yeah.
4:40, take a break.
Because there's two groups.
4:40, take a break.
So he comes barreling across the track at me.
You're going to take that seriously.
But then when I looked at him and I explained it, he realized that I misunderstood. And so he backed off.
At least a little sanity.
Yeah. I just misunderstood. I thought for some reason in my mind I didn't realize we were sprinting. And anyway, Cashley's father confronted the coach for not playing me after the game on the floor after the game. And he comes in the locker room. Was that your grandfather? No, coach, no. And he was not my grandfather. But we ended up being very close to him. And when he died, Charlie stayed at our house. So it was it would have been his second cousin, and I don't know how far you go back for me. But because of the location out in Arizona, we became close to his father while he was alive, and we spent a lot of time driving out to Sun City to be with them.
All right, DJ and PK, when we come back. That was quite the exchange late in the press conference.
Oh, man, I got some stuff to say.
He can't let it go. And eventually, neither did you.
And I'm just getting started.
That's next. Stay with us.